Welcome to Master B2B, where we host the world's first and only unwebinar series of debates. My name is Brian Beck. I'm thrilled to be joined today by Andy Hoare, my partner in this thought leadership series. For those of you who don't know Andy, he is a longtime industry veteran of the B2B e-commerce field, 7 years at Forrester Research, CEO of Paradigm B2B, on speed dial with CEOs all over the place. Andy, it's great to be here with you today on this important topic.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. So for those who don't know Brian is a 20-year industry veteran. He's been a consultant. He's been a systems integrator. He's been a practitioner. But more recently, he is the managing partner at Enceba, which is a firm that helps companies optimize their presence on Amazon. And he's also the author of $1 Billion B2B e-commerce, when in his spare time, he's not working on Master B2B. I don't know how he does all that. But anyway, Brian, great to be here.
Yes, Andy, great to be here. You make me sound like I can't hold a job. My goodness. Anyway, folks, we have a fantastic debate coming today. We're going to be talking about hunkering down or doubling down. What's the right strategy for your investments this year in 2023? Now, folks, those of you who haven't joined us before, this is a debate. So we have two teams of folks who are going to be debating this issue, which approach is the right one to take this year. We also have a sponsor who will also be participating in the debate, Commerce Tools, and subject to the same tough questions we're asking everybody else. So it's going to be a fun one today. We want to hear from you. So put your questions right in the Q&A box. As we go through this, we'll get to as many of those as we can. And if we can't cover them all, we'll get back to you after the unwebinar with answers. So Andy, burning topic. We've got people on both sides of this issue. They have to decide what to invest in this year, people, technology, et cetera. The question is, is this a time when strong companies can double down, invest more into these key areas and win market share from those who aren't investing? Or is it a time to actually hunker down and rationalize? I'm seeing some great people join us today, Andy, on this debate. I mean, again, a who's who of B2B e-commerce. Who are you seeing join on the screen there?
Yeah, so we've got Josh Williams from Petra Industries. We've got Rob Helderman from Royal Brinkman. Peter Watanabe from Staples in Canada, I think it is. So welcome to everybody. And as usual, strong outing, strong showing here.
Yeah, I'm seeing 3M here as usual. Dart Containers here. I see Ergotron. Ron, hey, Ron from Dynabraids here. Good to see you. Belinda from Konica Minolta, one of our former contenders. True Value is here. Wolseley, Rexnord, Xerox. It's really a who's who, Andy. So this is an exciting one. And, as usual, we posted the question on LinkedIn. We asked, with news of cutbacks in digital marketing and people, which approach do you think will generate the higher ROI in B2B e-commerce in 2023? And that question was, hunker down or double down. And we'll reveal at the end of this, the answer, how people voted on LinkedIn. And you folks will have a chance to vote at the end of our rounds too. So we'll see how the audience compares to our LinkedIn poll. But on that poll, we got almost 7,000 likes, shares, comments, and votes. And, a few comments quickly, Andy, that I think frame up our discussion nicely. Tim Peterson, president of Spear Digital and one of our longtime gurus and contributors to our conversation, says, my answer is double down. Downturns and cutbacks are tough, but they provide opportunities, which is really interesting. Meanwhile, Ken Novak, another of our industry experts and gurus, thinks many companies will end up hunkering down, but he says execs that are not investing in times of stronger financial stability, it will be a tough time to sell to do it now if they weren't investing prior. Some get it, most don't. So he thinks actually companies will hunker down. But I know you have some good data to share, Andy. Why don't we go and get into that to frame up our conversation today?
Yeah, I think there is actually one word you can use to describe the situation we're in today, and the word is uncertain. Or uncertainty. It's really fascinating what's going on right now. David Kelly is the chief strategist at JP Morgan, actually described it as a legacy of COVID weirdness, which I love that, because what we have is a dichotomy. Right now, we have companies, mostly in the tech sector, who are laying people off. So there's, layoffs and firings en masse taking place, 100,000 last month, I think. In January. And you have companies like Amazon that laid off 18,000 people. On the other hand, you have companies like in the service sector that had underhired during the pandemic for obvious reasons. They couldn't get anybody, who are now staffing back up. So you got this weird thing where you got people overhired who are kind of staffing down to an equilibrium, and people underhired who are staffing up. But on net, 517,000 new jobs added, net new jobs in January. So even though 103,000 people were laid off or let go in January, a net of 517,000 were added.
Yeah.
And back to the Amazon story for a moment, it's kind of interesting. So 18,000 people were let go, which is obviously unfortunate. But would you believe that Amazon in February of 2023 is twice the size of Amazon in 2019?
That's incredible.
So despite this, again, it really does kind of show that they ballooned really way out of control, and they're just kind of coming back to a right size. So you got that going on. So next slide. And you've got this weird thing where you've got companies that are doing both at the same time, like Boeing, where they announced that they're hiring 10,000 people in engineering and manufacturing in 2023. At the same time, they're letting 2,000 people go in HR and finance. So you have companies themselves who are kind of like discordant about what to do with these things. So it's fascinating. On the IT side, we had more robust forecasts for IT spending in December. Companies like Gartner and IDC that do these forecasts have trimmed them back a little bit, maybe cut them in half, because they don't know either, right? I mean, nobody really quite knows. And we have this, again, companies hiring, companies firing, companies staffing down, companies staffing up. So this one's an unclear picture. But one thing that is quite clear is that channels continue to be more and more diffuse. We've got more and more places people want to buy stuff.
Right.
And so you can see the numbers here are pretty dramatic about the growth of marketplaces. Next slide. So, we presented this actually in our predictions webcast last month, but it was so good and so timely, I decided to bring it back. So just one number, 7x growth. I mean, marketplaces are going 7 times the rate of overall B2B commerce. I mean, that's what's happening right now, has been for the last couple of years. These guys are getting big, and it's across the board. It's horizontal marketplaces. It's vertical marketplaces. We have a list here of some of the largest ones we presented this last month too. Some of these are doing $1 billion in GMV. I mean, these are not small examples. And then lurking below the surface, as always, is Amazon, the major horizontal marketplace, maybe even vertical to some extent now, where it's expected that their GMV is going to double by 2025. And so, again, in this uncertain market where you're not quite sure if things are going up or down, left or right, sideways, backwards, you still have this scenario where Amazon and these vertical marketplaces are attracting buyers. And so the key question is this, and this is what we're going to debate today. In the year 2023, in February 2023, if you have to make a choice, and you do, between now and the end of the year, do you choose double down or hunker down to drive higher ROI in 2023? So that's the question, Brian. That's what we're going to debate today.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting one, Andy, and that was a great setup. By the way, pick your mic up a little bit, getting some scratching. So that is the key question. And you think about these channels, for example, and a lot of these folks are a lot of our listeners today are already in some of those channels, just not doing them well. So I'm going to argue for hunker down. We've got a great team, and Andy, you're going to take the other side, the incorrect side, and we're going to have a debate. And folks, you're going to have a chance to vote at the end of each of our 3 rounds. We're going to get started in just a minute. Let's go ahead and introduce our teams. I am with Team Hunker Down, and in my corner, I have some of the best people. A return contender, Mr. Stephen. Go for the jugular, Javor. Stephen, did you bring a weapon? He brought a weapon.
I got my hockey stick. All its requisite marks and everything.
Excellent. Andy, you have no chance. You and your team. We have hockey sticks. We'll be beating people with those. Excellent. Javor says, by the way, Stephen is Director of eCommerce and Omnichannel Enablement at Schneider Electric. Those of you who haven't heard of Schneider, it's a gigantic manufacturer of electrical components. Javor says, it's time to grab spending by the jugular, which is one of the many things this electric contender says should be grabbed by the jugular. Thank you, Stephen, for that. He says, you're in for a shock if you think this is the time to convince your company to spend big. Thank you, Stephen. We're excited to have you back on the show here.
Great to be here.
Excellent. Okay. Our next contender is a man I know well, Chris Maction Baltuznik. He is the head of e-commerce transformation and operations leader at Owens Corning. Those of you, unless you're living under a rock, you've heard of Owens Corning, the Pink Panther, the insulation, all the good stuff they do. Gigantic manufacturer, world dominating company. Anyway, Ball Tuznik's beloved Ohio Bobcats. Did I get that right, Chris? Bobcats.
You got it, Brian.
Sweet.
Bobcats,
Right.
not the Bearcats. Bobcats.
They may play football on Tuesdays and Wednesdays for some reason. Jared wrote this, not me. But he says that every day is the best day to get the most out of investments you've made over the past couple of years. He says companies need to insulate themselves from more economic turmoil by hunkering down in 2023. Are you insulating yourself, Chris? Welcome.
Thanks, Ryan. Great to be here. Also, just want to say with a name like Go for the Jugular, I'm very happy that Steven's on my team.
I would be too. Yeah. Okay. Andy, you want to introduce your team, which is going to lose? Mm-hmm.
Well, the best introduction I could possibly give is just to turn on Ricardo Sardinian Slayer's video, and you can see for yourself.
I'm glad to be here, Andy. I'm eager to debate.
And perhaps slit a man's throat. That's also a possibility.
All the way from Sardinia, we're here to fight.
Oh, man.
He's not waiting. So let's do a quick introduction here. So Ricardo's another returning panelist. The Sardinian Slayer has run all the tests on investment strategies, and they all came back positive for doubling down.
Okay.
This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to blow up the competition. And he said, we'd be crazy not to take advantage of it. I think you've already said hello, but Ricardo, thanks for joining.
It's great to be here.
Do you have a job, Ricardo? We hadn't covered that part.
Oh, that's right. When he's not killing people, he's the VP of e-commerce at Cepheid. So yes, very important job. And he's grown a couple of companies from 0 to $1 billion in revenue. So yes, he's a pretty important guy. So yes. All right. So joining this team is Michael, the Menacer Schultz. So Michael is the global director and head of product marketing at Commerce Tools. Let's see if I can do this right. Jared wrote this one too. A proponent of mock-enabled technologies, he says you will be mocking a big mistake if you don't invest while everyone else has buttoned up the purse strings. In quotes, even though it's a terrible dad joke, the one I just did, I do think it's a big miss if you don't think about where you can double down on your investments this year. So, Michael, thanks for joining today.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
All right,
So,
guys.
Brian, back to you. I don't know how you're going to
All
survive
right, here we
this
go,
one,
guys.
but-
The stage is set. It's time. Let's rumble. Andy, this first one is yours.
Okay, so round one, all about technology capability. Should you enhance it? Hunker down, double down. What's your choice here? So let's go with the first question. Is now the time to expand your core technology capabilities as a long-term investment? Let's go to team double down first. I suspect you're going to say yes. Michael, let's kick it off with you.
100% yes. I don't know how many wake-up calls you need. The pandemic was the first one, supply chain, spy balloons, UFOs. I don't know what needs to happen for you to realize that this is the time to hunker down, double down, not hunker down. And Freudian slip there. Double down as much as you can, because if anything, the pandemic showed us, and everything that came after that, buyer behavior is changing, expectations are accelerating, personalized customer experience across channels, everything is changing. So don't hit that snooze button anymore. You got to double down.
So, Michael, I have to ask, does Commerce Tools have a special module for spy balloons?
Well, we believe in not being distracted by the real world, so we're going to be doubling down.
I had to go there. Okay, so Ricardo, let's go to you. Let's hear your thoughts on this. I assume you're all in, huh?
I'm all in. It's time to double down. It has never been better before. Consider this, the landscape has completely changed over this last 6-7 years. In 2016, I did a deployment. The best in class was a monolith. It took us a 1 full year that we have to close ourselves in this war room without windows, and then deploy after 1 year, big investment. And after 4 years, when the channel grew to $1 billion, we had to actually re-platform, which was a massive undertaking. Now, fast forward to last year at Safety that wanted to come online. And now with the best of breed type of approach, composable commerce, we were able to roll out order management just in few months, 2-3 months. In 6 months, we were down like with e-commerce. So we were able to be nimbler, faster, meet the needs of our customers better, greater ROI. And because this is like a plug and play type of model, we will not need to re-platform in 4 years. So it's a perfect scenario.
Well, I don't want to make you mad because I think we don't know the potential you might have, especially if you've been locked in that room for a year. That was a little frightening to hear.
Oh, there was something. We brought tents and we slept in the room.
Wow. Well, let's give the other side a shot because there is a counter argument, and I have to be fair as the moderator of this round. I mean, I've talked to companies. In fact, one recently who had, I think, 17 software packages that they hadn't even logged into, not even used. And so there's an argument for, I like to joke about this, instead of going out to eat, you can shop in your fridge and make dinner with what you have on site. So, let's see what the other team has to say about this. So let's go to you first, Stephen, Team Hunker Down. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, interesting to hear from Michael and Ricardo about, during the pandemic, that they needed to wake up. Well, where were you during the pandemic? Like, did you not formulate a strategy and invest then? Are you just waking up now? It's like 2 years after the pandemic. So have you been optimizing all those investments that you've already made, as you just discussed, right? And we've got the marketing automation tools. Maybe you invested in Marketo or HubSpot or whatever. And if not, it may be too late. And I don't know about tech getting any cheaper. Last time I looked, and in the stuff that we're looking at, it's gotten more expensive. I mean, even we had to raise our prices 4 times last year. Wow. So are you underestimating, the end of the pandemic while revenue is declining and you're going to throw some more money at technology to solve your problems? I mean, have an interesting discussion with your decision makers and your board now about investing in more technology when you haven't really optimized what you had already. And hey, if you haven't already laid off workers, who doesn't have all this extra time to manage a new, tech integration or replatform?
Wow, those are fighting words, and I love it. Chris, pile on here. Get on the dog pile.
I told you I'm glad that guy's on my team, right? So guys, just going back to it, everyone has their own roadmaps for digital, for e-commerce, their own tech stacks already in place, their own operations, their own platforms. I can almost guarantee you, just from my own experience, that if you went back and looked into all those vendors you have, all those platforms, all those technology, you would only be utilizing a very small portion of it right now. It's like your brain, right? Everyone says you only use X% of your brain. It's the same way for these platforms, for this technology. If you went back and looked into it, you're going to be able to find this incremental revenue, this incremental volume that you've been looking for. And I can tell you that from experience. So it's like, yeah, would you really want to go out for a luxury dinner when you don't necessarily have the money, or look in your own refrigerator and repurpose some ingredients to make that much more of a fancy sandwich to eat, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Fancy sandwich, Andy. You got 2 minutes left.
Yeah, so we're going to go to this second question. Just a quick answer from you guys. All right, so can B2B companies safely defer in the development of new digital capabilities to let the existing capabilities take hold and flourish? There's an argument for that. Hunker down, Chris, let's stay with you. Maybe you've made your point. Maybe just put a fine point on that.
Yeah, I can actually give an example because this is really kind of catering what I was just saying. So with my previous company, what I did was I actually explored every single vendor we had, every single platform, and asked for a capabilities presentation. Through those capabilities presentations, we were able to really find ways. I'll give you an example. We had a buy now, pay later platform. We're utilizing such a small portion of this platform. And with this capabilities presentation, we were able to take that from a $4 million business to a $9 to $10 million business. So, I mean, instead of investing in new technology to get you that much incremental revenue, we repurposed technology that we already had, and we found new areas of revenue stream.
Well, Stephen, I think you drew blood. Do you want to add to this, or do you want to just drop the mic?
No, there's more. I mean, mobile abandonment in e-commerce is still over 80%, desktop over 70%. That said, B2B customers are still not really that loyal to the brand, but to the entire experience. And are you optimizing that entire experience? Because I know at Schneider, we're still trying to improve the content data, the entire customer journey from search to delivery to aftercare. And if you haven't optimized on your existing investments, then you're playing the game from behind. I certainly would want to admit that to my decision makers unless I have already optimized with everything that we have already invested. Let me give you an example. We develop selectors to help our customers more easily choose our products. And while, you can go to our distributors and they may have agreed to put them on, but they put it on, some sort of side menu somewhere under tools, when really what they need to do is take those selectors and put them on the category pages or the PDP pages. We don't have to invest in new technology. We have to optimize the technology we already have.
All right, Ricardo and Michael, let's get a quick response. I've been chomping on the bit, and I think that Ricardo was getting that knife out. So give us a quick answer on this one. They say you can't defer. I'm sorry, they say you can defer on new technologies. I assume you guys say no.
Crazy to defer. I think it's crazy to defer. I mean, over 20 years, I've never found myself in the luxury of deferring development of new technology. Look, I can tell you, I had few stories, but for the sake of time, I'm going to give you only like this snippet. I am right now in the perfect situation to being able to see what is the impact of e-commerce for customers coming online versus offline. The numbers were so good that I involved the statistics department in my company to run those numbers. They came even better. And the explanation to that, especially in a non-commoditized market, is that I think that in these times of crisis, there is market consolidation. And customers are being very selective and choosing the vendors that they want to marry for the next 5 years. So we're grabbing market share. And you want to defer? It's absolutely insane. Double down.
Well, Michael, you got to get a final word in here, or maybe just walk away and let that be the final word.
No, I mean, Stephen just took this whole game to another level. I got to respond. Not number one, I think it's a fraudulent or a faulty idea to optimize something that you bought in a bundle. Like, I truly believe in this composable nature and this best of breed nature. Just because you've bought a bundle of a vendor doesn't mean you have to optimize every little thing. I mean, Chris said it about like, oh, we're only using 10% of our brain. I'm sure everybody is using only a 10 or 5% even of their iPhone. And yet you're still buying a better camera. Yet you're still buying Lightroom. You're still buying all the messenger apps. Just because you have bought something doesn't mean it's actually good and that you should be continuing to invest in it. Secondly, Chris, like the fact that one actually has to run a capabilities presentation after the fact that you've already bought something, like the beauty of composable is you buy best of breed when you need it and when you can integrate it, right? Like the fact that this is kind of like an after the fact kind of like exercise, like this is the problem with this whole buying approach. This is the whole nature of how this market has been educated. So I think the composable nature of this approach, of this paradigm, is really allows you to take advantage of when you make a purchasing decisions and when you acquire that vendor.
All right, Andy, we're up on time. We got to go to the poll question. This is a good debate, guys. Awesome. Let's go ahead and pop that poll question, Gabe, please. Thank you, sir. All right, Andy, that was a great debate. I mean, I think, Chris said, the stuff that Michael was just talking about, explore your current platforms, understand if you have something in place you're not using. I mean, to me, this is a great time to rationalize your technical debt. I mean, you're going to get a bit of forgiveness right now, right? This uncertainty thing, I think if you're running a business, you're going to get a little bit more of flexibility from your senior team, from the street, from wherever, to say, hey, we're doing some things because we're going to rationalize this and we're going to get this straight. Maybe that involves composable commerce, but at the end of the day, taking this big investments, all these investments that have been made over the years that you're not using and rationalizing them and getting more out of them. Like Chris said, I mean, Chris has great experience with this stuff. He's been there, he's done this, he's gotten millions of dollars of investment or return from doing that process. And that some of those are legacy. Maybe they were mistaken decisions. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's a great time to rationalize. But what did you think?
Yeah, just a quick point here. I bought a new car 2 years ago. I'll buy another new car in 2 years. And the reason why, I won't use more than 10% of the car I have right now. But in 2 years, there'll be new capabilities in that car. I just read the other day they're getting rid of side view mirrors. They're just going to have cameras and get rid of the side view mirrors entirely. That's something I'm going to want to have, even though maybe I didn't use the off-roading capability of the car today. Doesn't preclude me from wanting and needing the new technologies coming out.
But I guess the question is, do you buy the whole car? Or do you buy the tires? Or do you buy what do you buy of the capabilities that are there? Do you buy everything or not? And, rationalizing what you have today is, take a hard look at it. I think it's a good time to do that. Even if you do decide you're going to double down in some areas, hunkering down to me also means really understanding and being brutally honest about what you have today.
Well, let's put it this way: customers have an insatiable appetite for more, and you're gonna have to peg against that or fall behind.
All right, we got to move on to the next round, folks. That was a great one. All right, it's time. Let's go to round 2. Ring the bell. I love it. Okay, guys, welcome back. Round 2 is mine. This one we're going to talk about hiring and staffing. Is it the great layoff, and should you go hire everybody? Here's the question. Should B2B firms ramp up hiring given the market is full of tech and engineering talent due to recent industry layoffs? We're going to go to Team Double Down first. And Mr. Slayer, what say you, sir?
Absolutely double down. These are special times. Look, I'm convinced that success starts from great people. And when things are good, great people are busy doing great things. That is, they're not available on the market. But when crisis hits and they are either directly or indirectly impacted, that's a good time to snatch those champs. So what I suggest, you got to have a plan. You got to be selective. And you're going to be ready to get those people on board when the time is right. And the time is right now.
As long as you don't lock them into a windowless room, right?
I promise. That was old history. Now it's all different.
That's behind it. All right, Mr. Michael, what say you? What say you, sir? I believe you probably agree with Mr. Caruso here.
Definitely agree with him. But I think the focus for me is being selective, right? I mean, you have a lot of tech talent on the market right now. I think this double down paradigm or this approach to hiring great talent and hiring great people, and maybe even hiring people that bring great people, I think should always be your go-to move and your attitude towards hiring. I think the caveat that I want to throw in about being selective is, I mean, we've heard, I think Salesforce had their second round of layoffs. SAP had a round of 3,000 people last week. We don't need to mention Oracle, Shopify, Amazon. There is great tech talent out there, but a lot of these vendors also pursued very old legacy tech. So do you want to bring in legacy thinking, legacy people that just do effectively what brought them into this situation in the first place? I'm not saying that everybody's bad and everybody's following in that sort of bucket, but I do think that being selective is the great differentiator here. And I think hiring these people is going to be key. But I also think if you truly believe and sign up to this notion of composable approach, the talent pool is endless. There's a plethora of people out there who can do the job. It's no longer, I'm using Salesforce's proprietary development language anymore. It's really open to everyone. It's a great pool and an open pool and a large pool to begin with. So yes, there's more tech talent on there now, but I think you need to be selective about who you're bringing in, and it needs to match your culture.
All right. Good arguments, guys. Let's go over to Team Hunker Down. Mr. Baltuznik, what say you, Mr. Owens Corning?
I could not disagree with those guys more. Team Hunker Down all the way when it comes to hiring, and I'll tell you why. So these companies that are hiring during down economies like crazy are the same companies that are having mass layoffs 3, 4, 5 months down the road. And it's like turn and burn, turn and burn, turn and burn. So I don't need to wait for a down economy to find extreme talent. I just need to wait for another round of layoffs from a Google, from an Amazon, from a company who's doing these mass hirings and mass firings. So, I mean, essentially what you're doing is, I understand, with our previous conversation, if you want to go back and relook at new platforms and technology every couple of years, but when you're doing that with employees, you're messing with people's livelihood. So I completely disagree with the hiring, firing business model.
All right. And Mr. Go for the jugular Javor, if you don't kill off the employees, what say you, sir? Hunker down?
Again, what is your strategy? I mean, if you already hired during the pandemic, and if they're Gen Z or millennials, then you made some promises about training and career advancements. So if they're anything like my 20-year-old, they're not going to wait for you. So yeah, go ahead. Add some jaded millennials into the team mix and just hope they don't speak to the millennials you hired last year that aren't getting those positions now. So at Schneider, we hire engineers, and that impacts, all of our teams because they're so hard to get a hold of. And we are constantly enabling and upskilling our existing employees, talking to them about succession planning and career advancement discussions, talking about work-life balance, and reinforcing all of our efforts on sustainability, all topics that are very important to those new hires. You need to grow the people that you have, not just keep adding people to the mix.
So your job ads say no jaded millennials apply.
They're disappointed.
Yeah,
Imagine being hired by
unresolved
Google
issues
and now
there.
you've been let go by Google. Now what are you going to do?
Was that Menacer who chimed in there? Who just chimed in?
Yeah, I did. I said no unresolved issues right there with millennials.
All right. So here's another question, guys. Follow-up question to this. A lot of the layoffs that we've seen, and Dandy showed some data at the beginning of this, have come out of tech. Now, is tech talent really right for B2B companies? Are they, are these the folks that you want to bring in to, work, for example, Ricardo, you're saying double down, Mr. Slayer. Are these the right people to even be hiring?
Oh, absolutely. You want to build like a solid core. Now, things have changed, and you don't want to get like into the, hiring and laying off customers. I absolutely agree on that point with our opponents, but rather like build the strong core. And this is the time when you can access that talent that was not available, let's say like 2 years ago, and then have like a little bit more like of a flexible model where these senior top employees can manage eventually like other resources that can staff augment your team. But the people that you get on board, think about it as a long-term investment. And I tell you, it's going to pay off big time over time.
Okay. Chris or Stephen, would you like to respond to Mr. Slayer? Go ahead, Slayer or Stephen.
I think I want this one.
No, you didn't.
You always have to be taking a look at your employee base and making sure that you're optimizing on what you have. I just think that you have to, be cognizant that you've been making the right decisions in the past. You're hiring the right employees, and that you're giving them a future to look forward to. But that doesn't mean that you aren't always keeping your eye out to make sure you're optimizing on your team.
Okay, so staying with you, Stephen, for a moment, if we're advocating for hunker down, does that also mean we have to sort of cut promotions or cut bonuses and things like that? I mean, is this
no? That's that's probably the absolutely wrong way to go.
Okay.
You want to show that there's a future with your company and that you're going to back your employees, and they don't have to be looking outside and applying for other jobs just because there's some potential uncertainty in 2023. So, we're very strong on the fact that we need to keep rewarding our employees and showing them a future and making sure that they see a career forward for themselves.
Got it.
I don't know how this logic stands because it's anchoring down on hiring, but not like on promotions and bonuses. So they go by the same logic, right?
No, they don't. I don't think so. I think if you're going to start with your employees, you have to show that you're behind them. And being behind them is understanding that you've made a promise to them that if they achieve these certain results, they're going to get certain rewards. If you start taking that away from them, then you're going to have to start hiring because you're going to lose those employees.
So your version, Slayer, hunkering down, doesn't fly over at Schneider Electric. Right?
I'm saying like, double down on hiring those, be selective, as we were saying with Michael, right? Be selective, but have a plan ready, snatch those top talents, build that core that is going to be your platform to do great things over the next 5 years. And also for promotions and bonuses, like reward those, those top talents for what they earned.
So Slayer, you're advocating for hunker down then. Excellent. You flip side. Andy, we flipped.
It's a double down all the way.
All right. I think we're just about up on time here. So guys, thank you for that additional part. I want to get over to the poll question, folks. Go ahead and place your your votes in the poll question here. Go ahead and pop that, Gabe. Should B2B firms ramp up hiring and pay now to grab the talent that's flooding the market? Andy, what did you think of that debate?
Well, first of all, the wattage on this call is so high, it blew the light I'm using here. So,
I was wondering, you turned yellow or orange. What happened?
That's right. I didn't need any special gum or anything. I'm just I keep turning purple. But
you need some Schneider product in there.
That's right. I need an APC right over here.
That's right.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I think this is a very interesting question because you could literally make an argument for either side. I'm going to make the double down argument. Yeah. I think it's harder to find good people and it's more consequential to lose good people. So I think actually these tech companies are making a huge mistake by letting all these people go. Have you seen the qualifications of some of these people? Amazon's got people on the street who have, bachelor's degrees from MIT, of coding experience at Microsoft, and they're just letting them go. I guarantee you a year from now or 2 years from now, when the pendulum swings in the other direction, they're going to be clamoring to get those exact same people back. And it's like, what is this idiotic boom and bust thing? Look, if you're investing in technology and you have a long-term plan, why aren't you keeping these people? Put them someplace, find something for them to do because you're going to struggle to get them back. And by the way, as somebody pointed out, the damage has been done. The trust has been broken. People aren't going to buy these promises from, particularly the tech companies, like, oh, you can come here and spend your life here. They're going to be like, forget that.
Andy, come on.
I'm out.
Andy, the age entitlement is over. Okay. The power is shifted back to the employer. I'm sorry. The employer has more power than they have had before. So fine. But I think whatever. They're going to value their jobs more now because there's less of them. And look, the other thing is, it's interesting. I was reading through our LinkedIn comments prior to this. So I was looking at Devashish Saxena, who he's a former CDO of PPG. I think he said this pretty well. He said, make the decision to invest in digital commerce because it's the right thing to do for your business and will create significant impact. You shouldn't be hiring and doing this just because you think you'll have access to talent. So he's making really the same argument that Ricardo's making about, investing wisely and selectively. So anyway, really good stuff. We got to go to round 3. Let's go ahead and bring up the bell and ring it. Here we go. Round 3. Thank you, Andy. This one's yours. I'll keep time.
All right. Round 3 is all about channels. We talked at the beginning about how, like it or not, love it or hate it, buyers are going where the path of least resistance takes them. And increasingly that is in marketplaces, horizontal, vertical, et cetera. So here's the question. Is now the time for B2B firms to aggressively expand into new channels or focus on mining existing channels to drive growth? Again, you can make an argument either way here. You could argue for, in the existing channels, there's stuff unrealized gains, but then you got to explain why you're not spending more money on Amazon and other burgeoning and marketplaces. So let's go to Team Double Down first. Michael, let's get you in here first. I assume you're going to argue that, getting to new channels is really important.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you said it at the beginning of this webinar, right? Channel diffusion, the growth of marketplaces. You've just alluded to it now. I think it's really important for people to understand that the beacon on digital capabilities, especially the overall digital experience, is always moving farther and farther out. So you have to keep investing or you'll fall even further behind. I want to relate or cite 2 McKinsey studies, one of which says that 8 in 10 B2B leaders say that omnichannel is far more effective than traditional methods. 83% of those B2B leaders believe that omnichannel is a more successful way to prospect and secure new business. And the second study says 5 years ago, being omnichannel, to really define what that term omnichannel means, is being omnichannel meant offering 4 or 5 channels, right? EDI, maybe the first like product only, not even a transactional website, things of that nature. Now we're looking at more than 10 channels, engaging seamlessly across these 10 channels. 72% of the B2B companies that McKinsey interviewed sell via 7 or more channels, and all of them grew their market share. So for me, it's not really a question. You got to double down on channels. Obviously, you need to make work what you have. You can't sort of ignore that. But hopefully you've been doing that during the time of the pandemic and the last couple of years. But there's no time to waste on focusing on new channels, adding new channels, and as you said earlier, really focus on where your customers are and get a buy button out there.
Well, Ricardo, let's get you in on this too. I mean, don't customers choose the channels they want to be in, and don't you have to be where they're going to be?
Absolutely. So one of my mantras is all customers online, and that is enable all customers to be able to self-service online. You need to meet the customers where they're at. You're never going to be convincing a customer to come to your website if they're using other platforms. And that is because that is built like on the processes they decided to adopt, on their legacy systems. So you have to meet them where they are. And that channel is your marketplace. So you have to be there. In 2016, I joined a company. It was a great company making great products. And what came back from the customers was, we love your products. We hate buying from you. That was a channel problem. And that's an awful position to be in from a competitive perspective, right? So you want to remove all those points of friction, meet the customers where they're at, and invest in those channels. I have not, in my experience, been in a situation where I have not fully penetrated all channels. So my advice is map out your customers by channel and look at those opportunities and double down on those channels to meet the customers where they're at and get them on board. Because again, e-commerce is the smallest investment with the biggest ROI that you can find out there, like at any enterprise.
So, Stephen, I'm going to bet that you're going to suggest that your existing customers are your best customers, and it costs a lot more to get a new customer than it does to retain an existing customer. Am I correct about that?
That does sound like a broken record on this. It really depends on your strategy. I mean, specifically your channel strategy. And do you have any idea of your coverage? I mean, we went through this exercise a while back, well, actually on a regular basis, and we recognized that we were a little bit short on the diffuse side. And so we revamped our Amazon contract with them. But we're a bit different at Schneider, where we only have an authorized distributor strategy. So I may be a little bit more one-sided on this, which means we have to choose our channel partners, and we choose them specifically. We want them, we want to have partners that are going to be sellers and not just listers of our products, right? Sellers, not just listers. Now we will, engage with Amazon, which is more of an MRO place where they're not going to really super care about our customers, and we're going to have to manage that proactively ourselves, like you do with any marketplace. But I also take note that Mike was talking about omni-channel. A lot of these marketplaces are not really omni-channel; they're pure players, right? And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that when we work with a partner, that we're really optimizing them. I mean, it takes about a year for us to introduce a new partner. And when we get a new partner, then we're really working hard with making sure that they optimize all of the products that we have online with content and listings, making sure we're providing them with training so they can provide the best customer experience to our mutual customers, right? And we also provide different programs. We have two programs called the Digital Enablement Program and a Best Online Partner Program, where we actually fund our partners in becoming better at digital and e-commerce, or provide them with rebates if they hit certain criteria. And we found it to be very successful.
So, Chris, I know you've had a lot of experience, in particular with your former company, around this channels argument. And as I think Stephen just made the point, is that, you have to invest in these things, right? I mean, I assume this is what you're going to say, that you can't just keep flitting about from lily pad to lily pad, picking a new channel simply because it's there.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, so Michael, I appreciate all the statistics that you threw out there. I don't think we're not going to sit here and disagree that you shouldn't be looking at a omni-channel approach, right? I 100% agree to that. The question was, should you be looking to aggressively expand into new channels? Aggressively being the key term there. So no, I don't think you should at all. I think you should take time to be looking into exploring into new channels, absolutely. But in terms of aggressively exploring new channels, that means we're worrying about certain channel conflict we have. Like we do a lot in terms of our roadmap before we actually go into said channels. So by aggressively going into those channels, we could be looking at, pissing off a whole new base that we have that we'd spent 10 years growing that base. For instance, yes, previously I was at Goodyear. We had Walmart as our big customer. We were looking into Amazon. We were looking into Costco, But, there's nurturing to Walmart before we get to that point. So we don't, you have conflict for that business. So do I want to expand into new markets? Absolutely. Do I want to do it aggressively? Absolutely not.
Wow.
All right, Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, as I say, well phrased. You put a nice little cherry on top of that one. So I think we have to move on to the big review. All right, Brian?
We have to move on to the poll question first. Let's go ahead and pop that. And we did get a question here for Ricardo, but Ricardo, we'll have to send that off to you a little bit afterwards, and you can answer it. Okay. Here's the question: is now the time for B2B firms to focus on developing new channels or leveraging existing channels? Go ahead and place your votes, folks. You have 2 minutes. Andy, I mean, to me, there's no question here. You talk about all the different channels you're in. A lot of these companies are not doing the channels they're already in well at all. I think one of the best examples of that is Amazon. And some of the folks, some of our contenders, we talk about this, guys, right? So, your product not being represented well in channels you're already in is something that needs to be fixed. It's time to fix it. It's time to hunker down, improve your content, improve your control of the channel. Come on, Andy, you got to be kidding me. These guys are leaving money on the table. They don't have control of it. And it's a huge opportunity sitting in front of them. Maximize your existing channels, regardless of what they are. But I mean, you keep talking about marketplaces. I mean, you're saying it yourself. You're on my side. You didn't even know it. So anyway, I think it's time to hunker down.
I doubt that. Look, I'm getting mad. I'm turning.
I know, right? You get sunny there in Chicago. You got sunburned. You take the roof off. What's going on? I know. So you don't agree with me. Fine.
No, because when I hear the word hunker down, I hear settle. I hear slow down.
No, it's not settle.
I hear.
No.
Let's go back and have interdisciplinary committees review our current status and our progress. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, customers are racing to another channel because they've already decided, as I think Ricardo said so eloquently earlier, people loved his product but hated buying from him. Again, this is an exercise in finding customers where they are. Now, can you make things better in the situation? Yeah, of course. But if that is to the detriment of not following the customers, which is the key issue here, then that's a big problem.
Yeah, we just got a comment in from the audience. Didn't Sears and Roebuck hunker down? Thank you. Okay, so you're siding with Andy. Fine.
Oh, you got my email then. Okay, good.
That's right. Andy's buying votes as usual. All right. Okay, it's time. We got to bring in our closing argument with Mr. Michael, the Menacer. Michael, welcome back. Let's hear from you. Summarize your closing thoughts here and your closing arguments, sir.
I can't make. Again, I've been on doubling down ever since this webinar first started, and I think doubling down on those commerce investments and additional revenue generation opportunities in a severe economic climate can be a little daunting. I get that, right? It seems like everything works against you, right? Recession, inflation, supply chain, Andy's light, spying balloons, UFOs. But if we've learned anything of the past, right? If you're looking at 2008-9, that recession, that's the time when the winners emerge. And usually the winners are the ones that continue to invest strategically and move ahead of the competition. And if you remember, like, those are also the times when most of the most amazing startups were formed, right? Think Airbnb, Uber, Square, WhatsApp, you name it. So, like, whatever side you're on, I think whatever your strategic move or response to this ever-changing condition is, it's best founded in a business strategy and a technology approach that is composable in nature, one that allows you to move fast and agile, as fast as you can and as fast as you like. And I think really unchaining yourself from your previous technology decisions, whether they were good or bad, the tech that has accrued and is now creeping up and is hindering maybe your ability to make sound business decisions. I think that's really important to understand, and really unchaining yourself of that limitation, really. But I also want to allude to the fact that, like, let's not forget that I think 80% of commerce is a commodity, right? Like, doing this commodity business at scale and as flexible and robust and secure is still magic and is still a skill, but it's an order API, right? It's a shopping cart, it's a product catalog, right? Let's not forget that 80% has been done and been done before. It's really just the paradigm on how we're approaching this from business and from a technology and architecture perspective here. So I think really buying into this notion of composable, buying into that flexibility and focusing on the remaining sort of 20% of optimizing around your customers and their experience. And again, whether you want to do different business models, whether you want to be doing B2C, B2B, B2C, B2B, B2C, direct to consumer, what have you, right? So I think that's really like, that's the key for me to focus on that. And I think just because we're in the situation that we're in right now, it's not all about cost reduction, right? For me, there's three things. It's growth enablement. And obviously that goes into the number of channels, it goes into revenue metrics right there. It's about cost optimization. So it's not about cost cutting, it's really cost optimization. And most importantly, is about reducing risk. So understanding risk reduction and using that technology and business approach to just hedge your bets a little and be more flexible and more nimble, I think is what counts and that makes the world move.
Great. Well, Michael, thank you for your closing comments there. Appreciate that. And thanks for joining us today. All right. Now it's time for the decision. The most dramatic music ever. Thank you. All right, Andy. That was a heck of a debate.
That was awesome.
We all made it out alive. You turned red. Stayed cool. For those on the record here, Andy actually doesn't look like this.
Yeah, I'm not that little kid in Willy Wonka that ate the chewing gum. It's like.
All right. Anyway, what'd you think? I've got a few thoughts and takeaways, but what did you think of the debate?
I thought that was fantastic. I love the freewheeling nature of it. I think the arguments were great on both sides. Obviously, I'm biased here. I think you've got to always be attacking. I think you always got to be moving forward. Yes, you can evaluate what you've got. Yes, you can look to squeeze more out of that, orange you've already got, but customer expectations are constantly rising. Technology is always evolving. It's like if you buy a TV today, they can't fix the TV anymore. They just get a new TV. I know it may sound like, a bad situation where you're constantly replacing things and not fixing them. But at some point, you got to stay ahead of the curve. Or you can spend your time fixing what you've already got. And honestly, if I had to choose one or the other, I'm choosing the one where I'm constantly moving forward, buying the latest technologies and adapting to the circumstances versus whipping out the thing from 1983 and saying, how can we make this thing work?
1983? What planet are you living on? No one has anything from 1983. And well, maybe I shouldn't say.
AS400s. I've seen that.
Right. Okay, fine, fair. But no, look, I think it's a time we have permission right now as an industry because of what's happening in the economy, uncertainty, all the rest, to actually take stock, right? I think our number one thing we need to do is to look at what we have and say, can we use this opportunity to eliminate some technical debt? I think there really is something to that, Andy. And I think the real answer on people and technology, a second kind of point I want to make is that it actually, I think, is time to hire, but you got to do it selectively. So I'm not all in on doubling down, but I think it's a combination of doubling down and hunkering down.
I would say hire selectively, but aggressively selectively. I mean, don't you think these companies
come on, Andy,
hire selectively? I mean, Microsoft doesn't just hire anybody who walks in the door, but they hire selectively, but aggressively selectively. And that's what I'm suggesting. Move forward, hire these people. And you know what? The reality is if companies can't find a way to make it work with talented people, there's something else going on in the company.
All right. Well, Ted Fay sort of agrees with you. The VP of eCommerce at Crescent Electric. He said, good people are always hard to find and precious if you can keep them. If you've got the resources, bring them on to drive growth. So Ted agrees, but I think it's a selective thing. I think the age of entitlement is over and we need to we can get more out of our current people as well by challenging them. And I agree with Mr. Go for the Jugular Javor. It's not a time to cut benefits and perks. You got to take care of your people, but hunker down with your current people. Finally, this channel optimization thing, Andy, the companies are doing a poor job of the channels they're in. I see it every single day. They should be looking at their current channels and doing a better job. And I see it in digital marketplaces first and foremost, but even on their websites. How often do you go to a B2B e-commerce website and see, the placeholder picture because the image isn't there? I mean, the basics. Let's get the basics right, guys. Let's take a little time to step back and do that. So on balance, it's time to hunker down and selectively invest. That's my opinion. So
Well, Brian, the votes are already in, so you can't change
I
anybody's
know
vote at
I
this
can't.
point.
I can't change. All right,
Okay.
whatever. So let's go ahead and see, because we're gonna see our results now. Just a couple minutes left. Let's look at that LinkedIn poll first. So we polled LinkedIn. It's 7,000 people. Look at this. We had close to 100 votes, and oh man,
I would call that definitive.
dude. All right. So I know you outsourced this to India or something and had everyone.
It was a quick farm, but who cares?
Double down. Okay, so we asked with new channels, the cutbacks, et cetera, what'll generate the best approach? The audience on LinkedIn said doubling down on investments versus hunkering down. So that's interesting.
But we always say this. This is before they've heard the argument. So,
Right.
hey, maybe they hear the arguments today and maybe they change their mind. We'll see.
All right, let's go to the results of poll 1, LinkedIn poll. There we go. Oh, man.
I think people are getting the point.
75% spending more on internal technologies. Wow.
Additional
more,
on core
Mr.
tech. Yeah, that's right.
That was pain. Oh, that's painful. All right. Let's see. Round 2. What do we got? Should B2B. Oh, come on. Grab the talent. Okay, folks, go higher. Go higher. Go higher.
I will say this. This is predicated on an unlimited pool of money in a way. And so obviously in the real world, there are limits to what you can do. But I just think people are seeing that, well, look, the people you hire drive the business forwards. Every good company in the world will tell you that. And when those people are available, you got to take advantage of it.
All right. Slayer there. You and Michael, you got your number 2 question there. You won that one. Round 3. Let's see. Oh, come on, guys. All right. I want to take a look at everyone who voted new channels. I want to look at
Amazon. Recount?
I'm calling for a recount, man. I want to see. All right. So I got crushed. Guys, you made good arguments. Maction and Javor, excellent arguments. Thank you to our panelists, Mr. Sardinia, Mr. Menacer. You guys all made really good arguments. Well, a couple quick announcements. This was, you guys did great. It was a tough debate.
And let me say, I agree. I think that Stephen and Chris made really, really compelling arguments here. It's just overrun by the compelling nature of the other side, I think. And perhaps some failures on your part, Brian, but we'll talk about that one later.
All right. I'm on a nice losing streak here. All right. I won't tell you who picks the sides here. Anyway, so thank you again for our panelists. Any final words before we wrap for the day?
Yeah, no, I think this was a great debate. I want to thank everybody who did this because, I think they were stretching a bit to make good arguments, and they did. And I think that stretching causes people to think about some stuff. I know when I end these things, I go, wow, that was a really good point. I hadn't considered the other side. So
thank you all for joining us on the Master B2B on webinar. We will see you next time.